Hey friends and revolutionaries, back again with a Masters of the Universe Classics review. Some of you last month asked if I was going to do Battle Armor Skeletor, if I skipped him, or if I was going to do him. And yes, of course I'm going to do Battle Armor Skeletor. He's cool. But I'll let you figure out why I decided to wait until this month to do that one. It seems as though that over these past couple of months, Maddie's been putting figures out in a way that doesn't quite fit with how I'd like to do my reviews. They're about a month mixed up. You know, King Hiss and then the pre-turning He-Man. Yeah, they were just kind of a month off, so I had to wait. Well, same thing with Battle Armor Skeletor. There's a figure that came out this month that I wanted to do with Battle Armor Skeletor, so I waited to do this figure until now. But I'll let you guess what figure that is. So, for now, we're taking a look at Battle Armor Skeletor, as it says on the box, as always. New packaging. Got the Masters Universe Classics logo on there, the Adult Collector, nothing on the bottom, the wonderful gibberish. Contains one figure and accessories. There's Skeletor, which I'm not sure if a rubber band broke, but you can kind of see on him, he's kind of falling out of his pack. He's kind of, yeah, he's something about him. Yeah, he's either trying to bust out or he's trying to look down. Something. He's kind of fell out of his pack. That's okay. We'll get him open soon enough. But there he is, Battle Armor Skeletor. Very, very cool. I am surprised. I thought with Battle Armor He-Man that came out pretty much at the beginning of last year, I didn't think they'd wait quite so long to do Battle Armor Skeletor. I knew they were going to get to him eventually, but yeah, it took a lot longer than I thought. There it says Battle Armor Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction. Nothing about the armor. And, you know, I guess Maddie's kind of given up on the panel showing the special effects. You know, you can kind of see here in the corner that there's an extra chest plate, which we kind of all know what the chest plates do now. But it still would be kind of cool if they put a picture of what it did here on the side. You know, kind of a throwback to old 80s sort of special feature things, even though there's not really a special feature. On the back, we've got other characters, Battle Armor Skeletor and Battle Armor He-Man. With Man-at-Arms, if you take the armor from the Palace Guards, you can do a Battle Armor Man-at-Arms. Beastman and Trapjaw, will we ever be able to do a Battle Armor version of them? You know, it would actually be kind of cool if, and I'll get to this more in a minute, I just thought about it, but it would really be kind of cool if in the next weapons pack, you know, in the next Ultimate Battle or whatever weapon pack they do, they actually come with a Battle Armor style, some type of Battle Armor that you can give to somebody. That would be kind of cool. I mean, you can do kind of do your own Battle Armor Stratos, do your own Battle Armor Zodak, whatever, you know, just a generic kind of piece of armor that you can do Battle Armor with. That would be kind of cool. I just kind of thought of that. That would be great in another weapons pack. And then, of course, there's Teela up there, which we'll probably never see a Battle Armor version of her. On his bio, great kind of, not Minicom, but that is kind of the picture that came on the back of his original card, of his vintage card. It says, Battle Armor Skeletor, real name Keldor of the House of Miro. Using dark magic taught by Hordak, Skeletor occasionally creates new forms of armor and weapons to outmaneuver the Masters of the Universe. The heroic warriors. His battle armor was first created to help Skeletor penetrate through the Mystic Wall in order to kidnap Adora and secretly clone the Sorceress. Well, I don't know about the part where he kidnaps Adora, but he didn't wear it when he cloned the Sorceress. You know, well, okay. The original armor was destroyed by Ular after 3 strikes with his mighty battle axe, sending Skeletor back behind the wall. Skeletor reformed his armor 20 years later in an effort to combine a similar battlesuit now worn by He-Man. Although lacking the mystic quality of the original, his new armor was stronger and more powerful. Skeletor, Evil Lord of Destruction, is now protected by his magic battle armor. I don't know about, again, when he kidnapped Dora. I mean, unless you go with the Secret of the Sword being kind of the closest to the vintage story about that, he certainly didn't wear it when he was cloning the Sorceress. And, unless it's an origin story, I always want to do just the Minicon that came with the vintage figure, even though that really makes me want to go to the story where he cloned the Sorceress. No, we're going to go ahead and go with the Minicon that came with him originally. So sit back, take a look, have some fun, be right back.
As it happened, the Minicom that came with the Battle Armor Skeletor Dragon Gift doesn't actually feature Battle Armor Skeletor. As a matter of fact, it's got very little Skeletor in it at all. But the story was adapted for the first season of the Filmation series under the title The Dragon's Gift. The stories run almost parallel with some minor changes and of course the necessary padding that the episode would need to fill that the Minicom didn't. In both of the two stories, a mysterious stranger arrives to present the king with a gift. One of the great things about seeing this story side by side is you can see the difference between the Minicoms, who are holding true to the figures, and then the Filmation series that basically had their own character designs. The clean-shaven Man-at-Arms and the King of Hearts King Randor versus the red and blue that we know from the Filmation and then Tom Selleck Man-at-Arms doesn't make a whole lot of difference to the story, but it's just a lot of fun to look at. In both the two versions, Man-at-Arms rushes in to save the king. In the Minicom version, he recognizes the mark of Skeletor on the jewel, and in the Filmation, seeing the crossbone symbol of Skeletor on his sword. In either case, Man-at-Arms sacrifices himself to save the king. Being transformed into a crystal statue himself, Skeletor drops his disguise, and what a great Skeletor it is from the Minicoms, frustrated that he wasn't able to get Randor, but satisfied that he's caused some mischief in the kingdom. With Skeletor in the palace, Adam and Cringer go off to become He-Man and Battle-Cat. They arrive back at the throne room, but Skeletor still manages to get away. This is pretty much all the Skeletor we're getting through the rest of the story. Oh well, at least we got a cool figure to go with it. This is also where the padding on the Filmation series really starts to show itself. In the Minicom, He-Man already knows about a great dragon in the Ice Mountains who may be able to help them. In the Filmation series, He-Man and Teela take Man-at-Arms to Castle Grayskull to see the sorceress. She admits that the spell cast by Skeletor is too powerful for her magic, which just makes me wonder that if he can cast spells that powerful, why does he want to get in Castle Grayskull again? The sorceress does tell them that the knowledge to save Man-at-Arms may be found with the oldest and wisest of the dragons on Eternia, Grenimir. But an agreement between the castle and the dragons eons ago, centuries? How about we just say a very long time ago, prevents her from disclosing their whereabouts. So it's back to the Eternian Castle for an all-night cram session on dragons. Once the Filmation story catches up with the Minicom, He-Man, Teela, and Battle-Cat face off against some of the beasties of the mountains. Whether it be the Ice Blue or Polar Bear White, it's Ice Hackers. And being that it goes by the same name in both versions, I can't help wondering if the Master Universe Classics may still have a use for that old Shadow Beast mold. And I think here again is a good example of why the Minicom stories were so much more exciting. Teela and Battle-Cat drive off some of the lesser creatures while He-Man goes toe-to-toe with the Ice Hacker, laying down a good solid right cross, driving the beast off, while the Filmation series comes up with something, let's just call different. In both versions, they make it to the fire pits and meet the dragon Grenimir. Just in the face, you can really tell how well the Minicom version tries to convey how old Grenimir must be. Combine that with his withered arms and legs, probably can't even hold up his body any longer, he no longer appears to be a creature of physical strength, but still presents an aura of great magical wisdom and knowledge. Now contrast that with the Filmation version, which really looks more like a plucked turkey with a sunburn. After listening to their story, Grenimir tells them that in exchange for his help, he requires a gift. In this case, the Sky Tree, the only other creature living on Eternia older than him. He tells them to chop it down and bring it back in order to get the information they need to save Man-at-Arms. With their promise to do so, Grenimir transports them to the Forgotten Forest where they meet Sky Tree and its defender. In the Minicom version, that's a Manticore. In the Filmation, a reject from the Lucky Charms ad with his 3 dogs. In the Minicom version, He-Man manages to avoid the spiky bit at the end of the Manticore's tail and fling him into a nearby rock. Now, if you watch enough of these reviews, you'll probably notice in these early Minicoms, He-Man doesn't really have a whole lot of concern for the animal kingdom of his world. In the Filmation version, Teela uses her freeze ray to freeze the 3 dogs in their tracks. Now, whether that's any less lethal, I'm really not sure, but it definitely looks friendlier. As they approach, Skytree awakens to hear why they've come. Skytree tells them that many, many years ago, a heroic warrior known as Man-at-Arms saved the forest when it was in great danger, and as a repayment for that act, is willing to allow himself to be cut down so they may gain the knowledge they need from Grenimir. Skytree's willingness to be sacrificed makes He-Man and Teela realize that they're being asked to sacrifice a life for another life. They return to Grenimir to tell the old dragon that they would not do so even to save a friend. With their promise broken to the old dragon, He-Man and Teela find themselves surrounded by an army of demons called forth by Grenimir. As He-Man tries to attack, he finds that they're mere illusions, and through force of will banishes them back to the nothing from which they came. And like some type of Greek epic, Grenimir praises He-Man for passing his test of mercy, sacrifice, and wisdom. And for these virtues, He-Man is given the knowledge he needs to save Man-at-Arms. At the end of the story, the Minicom version shows a fully restored Man-at-Arms, with He-Man commenting that Grenimir's tests were to remind them of what's right and wrong even during desperate times. In the Filmation version, it ends as it so often does, with a joke at Cringer's expense.
Alright, there you have it. Very little Skeletor and no battle armor. It's something where I really should have done the origin of Teela story. A lot more Skeletor, and just go to show you, he didn't wear the battle armor there either. But hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was at least interesting. Taking a look now at Skeletor, battle armor Skeletor that is, we can see that, yeah, for the most part, I mean, he is just a Skeletor. You know, same kind of arm, well, clearly the same head. Arms, legs. Biggest difference on this one, on top of the fact that, you know, he has the battle armor, well, the battle armor, is that I think that the torso, both the top and bottom part of the torso, are taken from the battle armor He-Man. And it makes sense because, you know, it has to be the right size for this bulk of armor to fit on him. But you can tell that he doesn't have the armored loincloth thingy. So, you know, it's something where when you stand him next to another Skeletor, or even a Keldor for that matter, you'll notice that he's just wearing the shaggy shorts. On his feet, you know, it's not just the shins that are painted. You actually have the full painted foot. Same colors. Just like you have the shaggy shorts with belt painted all in a solid black. So definitely trying to stay with the way the original battle armor Skeletor was presented. I don't know. I'm not sure if having his loincloth back on, maybe in the same metallic color here, might not have been a better way to go. But again, they have to stay true to the vintage version. That's what they promised. So there you go. On the face, just to go ahead and get it out of the way, I mean, the head, just like with He-Man, I mean, he doesn't really look down that much. He can look up and side to side. But when you look at the face, something about these Skeletors lately, these faces, both with the very solid yellow face from Lex Luthor 2-pack, and with Molar being very, very green, you know, this Skeletor doesn't really have the same look as the original Skeletor, which we can bring in real quick. You can see that the yellow is more like a dry brush over the green. Very imposing. I mean, it's a great skull face. This one almost seems to have a whole yellow layer. And, you know, whether or not that was the vintage, I don't remember well enough. I don't have that figure any longer. I still think that it would have been better if they kept it more of a dry brush instead of doing this heavy application on there, because it doesn't look as nice. It just does not look as nice. I mean, you can judge for yourself, but I mean, really, when you look at these two Skeletor heads, there's no question in my mind, this is the better one. This is one of the better paint job. On his articulation, or the rest of his articulation, the arms do come out and out. Twist of the shoulder, bicep, elbow, and wrist. Twist of the torso, which is pretty tight. The crunch does work, slightly. Legs twist at the thigh, come up and out. Bend at the knee, twist of the boot, and hinge of the foot, well, swivel and a hinge. Hinge is pretty tight, and I don't, when it comes to ankles on Master Universe figures, I'm not going to force them. Now, for the part that, you know, everybody certainly wants to get a look at, the battle armor. Again, I love the battle armor. It just makes it look so cool. I like the fact that that when it comes to metallic paint, the Master Universe, it's very infrequent. We don't see metallic used a whole lot, which is good, because if they used it on the figures more, it would definitely take away from the effect. And on Battle Armor Skeletor, that metallic purple just looks sweet. That looks great. I love the metal bands with the rivets on it. Even's got kind of a sculpted skull right there on the front. Looks really good. Has kind of the crossbones like you would normally see up on the top, except it's just kind of like a set going across. That's something I just noticed there. That just looks so cool. One of the other things about this figure that makes it better than the Battle Armor He-Man is that, like the palace guards, the hinges, you know, the hooks, the entire plastic for the armor is much softer, much nicer. Does not give me the feeling that it could snap off at any minute, that the hinges could break. You know, much more pliable, much nicer. Hopefully they'll do another Battle Armor He-Man and do it in this kind of plastic. But there we go. We see the lighter purple and green bat on his pristine chest. And by now we all kind of know how this works. We pop out the plate, which used to be the drum on the vintage. Kind of pop in the single strike. Still the same bat. You know, looks just like some kind of gash got hit on his chest. And then the one that I'll probably keep on him, as much as I like the pristine version, for Skeletor, I think I'll keep the fully damaged 2-strike, kind of the X version. And I'll show you why here in just a second. But you go ahead and put that back on him there. Close it up. Snap it shut. It doesn't really snap, but it closes up nice. It doesn't really snap. But again, that's because this is a softer, more pliable plastic. It's not as likely to break as you might think. But Skeletor's chest piece comes with a clean version, a single hit, and a totally destroyed version. The head doesn't quite do the same thing, but speaking of Molar, it's something where, well, you know what, before we get there, I might just give it away, but before we get there, his other accessory is his axe. It's something where it's just a version of He-Man's axe, and really I think we've kind of seen enough of the He-Man weapon sets. You know, with the axe, the shield, the sword, I think it's been done enough. Thank you, you can stop for a while. Considering that we've got the Skeletor from Molar, the Skeletor from the Lex Luthor pack, Keldor, and now Battle Armor Skeletor, you know, we don't really have that many Havoc staffs. So, you know, it'd be really kind of cool that along with the generic Battle Armor set that they could put into the next weapon pack, it would also be kind of cool if they put in like a black Havoc staff. You know, I would buy a couple of sets of those if those two accessories were included. Some kind of generic Battle Armor and a black Havoc staff. Oh yeah, I would buy 3 or 4 of those. Easy. Easy. So, you know, here's crossing our fingers and hoping. But as I was saying, if you take the Molar, who, if everybody remembers Molar, with the not so menacing looking Skeletor, not so menacing expression, I should say. Pop off the heads and swap them out. The entire battle effect is done. You can really see that this is a Skeletor who's had a bad day. This is him basically after he's thought, hey, I've got some new armor, let's go test it out. Yeah, this is Skeletor not on his best days. So I highly recommend that if you've got a Molar Skeletor 2-pack, if you've got the figures open, go ahead and swap out the heads. Swap out the heads, because I will bet that there's a good chance you would probably want to keep this head with this Skeletor, the Battle Armor Skeletor. It just looks so cool. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Be back soon with this month's Master Universe figures. Hope you enjoyed it. Rate, comment, subscribe, join the revolution. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.